Hello, everyone. Good evening. Hello, everyone. Good evening. It's 7:42 right now, and on GAD Academy, we have something to share with all of us on the Engineering in Society CENG 291. So, once again, you are welcome to GAD Academy. My name is Caleb Akududu, a tutor at GAD Academy, and I'm going to talk about communication, mastering clarity, and effective communication. Mastering clarity and effective communication. So let's wait for about 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, and wait for our friends to join, and then we can just go into it. Hello, everyone. Good evening once again. So, we are going to begin very soon. Just like a number of people have joined the call. So, we are going to start with today's section on the GAT Academy CENG section. So, let me just begin. So, good day, everyone. Welcome to this section of the course on CENG in society. As we can see, CENG 291. It's been a while. We began with the first session where we talked about the CNG in general, and now we are here. So, my name is Caleb Akududu, a tutor at GAD Academy and a member of the chemical engineering class in KNUST. So, with a focus on both verbal and written parts of the CNG, today we are looking at mastering clarity and effective communication. Mastering clarity and effective communication. So without much ado, I'd like to continue and move directly into the discussion. It's quite a long slide we have here, I have here, but then I'm going to summarize it so that later on you can have the slide. You can pick up the link in the description of this video. So, mastering clarity and effective communication. So we have our first point, crafting clear and concise sentences, avoiding ambiguity, eliminating technical jargons, incorporating visuals and diagrams. But what does it even mean to master clarity? And what does it mean to have effective communication? To have clarity means to give something that is free of ambiguity, something that's very simple to understand, something everybody can just look at and say, oh, this statement makes sense. It's not something that's not really complicated to understand. And all that fits into the concept of effective communication. Again, we are talking about this not just because we want you to go and stand somewhere, hold a microphone and begin preaching, or just to express yourself, but then we want you to understand the aspect of technical writing or report writing, which actually demands that you make your sentences clear and you communicate effectively to your audience. Because the person you are going to speak to must be able to understand what you are actually looking at. I want to use this scenario. Assuming you go to a basic six class, that's a JHS or a primary six class, and then you go there with a PhD report and you just start reading some things to them. I'm sure they will all not understand because that target audience for that work is not for them. Choosing them actually is something wrong because they cannot understand, they will not understand, they'll just look at you and then begin laughing or just do something. So that's what we're actually talking about. So your target audience in this case is intellectuals, people who actually are knowledgeable, people who are learned, people can actually understand what you are working on. So that's your target audience. Regardless of whether the person is an intellectual or not, you must be able to communicate effectively what you are working on to that person. Let me just use this example. So in basic school, if you go and then you want to talk about quantum computing algorithms for integer factorization, nobody will understand. But then if you go and you say, okay, let's explore super fast computers that can solve some complex mathematics, it begins to resonate with them. It begins to make them feel, oh, this is a discussion I want to go into. So depending on how you want it to look, you go and then you make it look just like that for them. So you need to proofread and edit. So now let's go into each of these points, one to five, one by one, break them down and understand what you mean by mastering clarity and effective communication. So our first point is crafting clear and concise sentences. Crafting clear and concise sentences. Crafting clear and concise sentences. So we have here simplify complex concepts, like the example I used. Simplify complex sentences, like the example I use, quantum computing algorithms for integer factorization. Saying this in a class like that basic 6 or GHS class is something really complicated for them to understand. So you just go with saying, let's explore some super fast computers that can solve complex math, something that will really keep them active. So with the example on the slide, we all can see the complex sentences, the utilization of advanced computational algorithms facilitated the optimization of the system's performance. This is really bulky, this is really huge. But then in the simplified form, we have an advanced algorithms improved the system's performance. So this saying it in this simple way will just make the person know what you actually want to talk about in straight way without any complication. So use active voice. Use active voice. So what does it mean to use an active voice? Active voice is generally direct and lays emphasis on the doer. That's an active voice. But then a passive voice is mostly used when the doer is unknown or less important, or when the emphasis is on the action. So you are the one performing the experiment, you are the one who did the research, you are the one who wants to publish a paper. So why would you want to be using a passive voice and not an active voice? It's actually better to use an active voice. That way, whoever you are communicating to can actually get the concept clearly and will be able to follow along as well. Remove redundancies. Crafting clear and concise sentences. If your sentence is going to be clear, rid of errors, rid of any kind of argument, you need to take away all repetitions, anything that's not relevant. So you see, the results of the experiment were very similar in nature. And then look at the concise form, the experiment results were very similar. So in that case, they just removed the results, they just removed the results of the experiment, and they just kept the experiment results were very similar. So it just communicates the same idea simply to whoever is listening, whoever is reading, and the person gets you without any complications. So in considering redundancies, we can also have another example. She has a total of 4 different pairs of shoes. Just listen to the example I gave. She has a total of 4 different pair of shoes, which can be trimmed down to a more concise form. She has 4 pairs of shoes. So in that case, a total of is so unnecessary, and then they just took it out, and then they now have she has 4 pairs of shoes. It's just like saying that the experiment gave good results without any extra information. So if you want to perform an experiment, those who are writing their reports or who will be writing reports or who are still into technical writing, you need to provide some details without repetition and without all those redundancies. So use specific and concrete language. Specific and concrete language, though this self-explanatory, but let's just go into it. So the vague option is the device exhibited good performance. The device exhibited good performance. And being specific, you would like to see the device achieved an accuracy of 95%. So in your writing, you want to know the details. These are some petty details you want to know. So the device achieved an accuracy rate of 95%. It tells us how good the performance of the device was. And like I said, it is just like saying that the experiment gave good results without any extra information. So if you're writing a report and you just start and you say introduction, whatever abstract, you state all those things and you just go by. So after the experiment, you just state a conclusion. So after the experiment, I realized that cocoa pod husk can give me this amount of oil, this amount of gas, this amount of this, without stating the details, the methodology, the things you went through. So that's with stating or crafting clear and concise sentences. So avoid ambiguity. Avoid ambiguity. So you need to define the terms and the concepts clearly. It's just like the previous example I give. We talked about redundancies. sorry. So you need to avoid all ambiguity. So you define your terms and then your concepts. So the unclear statement here is the system utilizes a PID controller. And then the more clearer form, or the clearer form we have, is the system utilizes a proportional integral derivative PID controller, which is a feedback control mechanism that adjusts the system's output based on the error between the desired and actual values. So in this concept, if someone is in health science or someone from a health background is reading your work, the person just gets it at the first instance. And though we are trying to over explain, trying to talk a lot more, these things are not absolute or restricted to just go by the clear option all the time. It depends on your target audience, like I stated earlier. So if your target audience is everybody at all on campus, there are certain things you need to explain since it may not be engineering bias. If you are writing from a health perspective, there are a lot of words you need to explain because engineers may not understand, mathematicians may not understand. So that's with avoiding ambiguity. If someone is in your field, the person will just get you using some jargons and all. Like, we'll get to that. But then if the person is not there, it makes it really difficult for the person to understand what it is you are talking about. So use avoiding ambiguity, use precise language. We've already stated that. And then in the ambiguous form is the test results were satisfactory. But a more precise form would be the test results met the specified performance criteria with an average accuracy of 90%. So avoiding ambiguity option C, clarify relationships and connections. This has also been explained earlier. So the unclear format is the experiment showed positive results, therefore more testing is needed. And a clearer form is the experiment showed positive results, indicating the need for further testing to validate the findings. So avoiding ambiguity, option D, we have anticipate and address potential. Anticipate and address potential. So a potential misinterpretation is the device is not reliable. The device is not reliable. Assuming you just go to a lab, someone's lab, a new lab, and then you just see something like that. The device is not reliable. You are just trying to cause a problem because it means everybody who comes to the lab that day will not understand what is going on, but will just assume the device is not working or the device is just too faulty to be relied on. But if you give clarification as to what the unreliability of the device is by saying although the device performed well in controlled environments, further testing is required to assess its reliability in real world conditions. That case, anybody that goes there will just know, okay, so at least it can give me a value. It's not that it's dead. It can give me a value, just that I need further testing to validate the values I'm getting or the readings I'm getting from it. Eliminating technical jargons. Define. So our option A is define technical terms. That's the example we have here. Is the system utilizes a microcontroller. And then a defined term is the system incorporates a small electronic device called a microcontroller, which is responsible for controlling its various functions. This also feeds to the earlier example I give, that if you are an engineer and are writing your research work, your research paper, probably in computer engineering, computer science, and electronics, you can use some of these things because if your target audience is just people who understand the concept, is that easier. But if someone is from a health background and the person doesn't know anything about it, and you just go by saying the system utilizes the microcontroller, he or she will not understand. So it's better to go by explaining probably at the introductory session what a microcontroller is, so that going forward you can just be using microcontroller and then anybody who continues to read will just understand that okay, we said the system incorporates a small electronic device called the microcontroller, which is responsible for controlling its various functions. So that person must have read this earlier and will just understand going forward that okay, a microcontroller is an electronic device, a very small one that can be used to control systems. You just make the person's work easier. And then point two of eliminating technical jargon, you need to provide contextual explanations. As the technical jargon is, the algorithm employs a binary research. The algorithm employs a binary research. So assuming you are just going to send this, post something like this on your WhatsApp status or in your research work process as a chemical engineering student, materials, electrical students may understand. But if your background is biased to some kind of these things like this, there's no way you're going to understand. So contextually, you need to eliminate it by explaining or finding a way around it. So let's see what we have here. The algorithm uses a search method similar to looking up a word in a dictionary. It divides the search space in half at each step, narrowing down the possibilities until the desired item is found. So if someone from English is just reading this, the person will just know what you are talking about than going by saying the algorithm employs a binary research when the person doesn't even know what binary actually means. So eliminating technical jargon, option C, use analogies or metaphors. Analogies or metaphors. So let's see our example here. The data encryption algorithm uses asymmetric key. The data encryption algorithm uses asymmetric key. So the analogy here is, think of the symmetric key as a master key that can both lock and unlock a door. Similarly, the encryption algorithm uses the same key for both encryption and decryption. So in this case, you've actually eliminated that encryption algorithm uses asymmetric key by explaining what it actually goes by sequentially. So whoever picks it, whoever picks your research work, whoever picks your booklet will just know what exactly you were trying to talk about. Eliminating technical jargon, the last option is visual aids. Visual aids. So the technical jargon is, the circuit diagram shows the connections between the components. And then in the visual aid, you can say include, or you can just add include a label diagram circuit diagram that visually represents the connections between the components for better understanding. So instead of writing the circuit diagram shows the connections between the components, you can just put a diagram there, something you draw yourself, something you pick from the internet, or anything that can be referenced and ultimately represented clearly. You just put it there and it summarizes all your problems. So whoever sees it will just understand and move on without going through any stress. So you have an example is this labeled circuit diagram we have here. So we have a resistor, ammeter, switch, cell, and the positive and negative. We have the voltmeter and all. So instead of writing a whole statement, a whole paragraph of big words someone will not understand, you can just put this there and put the paragraph there as well, so that everybody can benefit. Your target audience is everybody, every intellectual. So they must all be able to understand what you are working on. So incorporating visuals and diagrams. So this will be our last session for providing clarity and effective communication. So incorporating visuals and diagrams, we have a benefits of visual aids. Benefits of visual aids. I've seen in research works, I've seen in publications and all. And I've realized over the time that when you add pictures or graphics or graphs or any chart to your work, people really understand what you are doing and then they are able to follow along. If you write a lot, if you put a lot of data there, a lot of things that are just biased to you and generally not for everyone, people find it hard to understand. So the benefits or visualize it, it enhances comprehension. People can follow along, people can really resonate with your thinking and really think about what you are doing and say, okay, so he just plotted this x against this y and he got this u curve, so it means this and this and this. and it will improve retention, because a lot of people, majority of people learn by seeing. Majority of people, they learn by seeing. In fact, everybody, to be able to learn, you have to read. To be able to learn, you have to see what is going on. So about 99%, 98% learn by seeing, though others have photographic memory to capture it into their minds. But everybody, almost everybody learns by seeing. So adding graphics and pictures that will actually attract the person, makes them know that, yeah, that I read about, if it was about the heart, now I know that the heart, there are tubes here that connect this to this, and I know the blood flows from this section to that section. An example is the labeled circuit diagram we brought here. So you can, if you have this in your notes, if you have this in your research paper, and someone has read it and the person has seen it, it's very easy for the person to just describe to another person who is finding it difficult to understand the flow of electrons, or probably how to arrange a simple circuit diagram. It simplifies data presentation. Like I said, if you have messy data somewhere, you can just put it all together, draw some charts, draw some lines, and it's very easy for anybody who picks it to understand. So incorporating visuals and diagrams, option B is choosing the right visuals. Choosing the right visuals. So we have diagrams, we have charts and graphs, we have flow charts. It is very, very, very important for us to understand the right visual to use at what time.